Hello class, please come take a seat on the floor. We are going to do story time and we're going to read some stories. Thank you for sitting down. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Alright, so now that everyone is sitting on the floor, today what we're going to talk about is the moral of a story and what that means. So when I think of the word moral, I think of lesson or something that someone wants to teach me. So we are going to read some stories today and learn about what moral of a story means. I'm going to tell you an example of a moral that I learned when I was a kid. When I was young, it was a beautiful day outside, sunny, it was summer, and I was so excited to go play with my friends. And I had ran out the door. I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing, and I ran out, was so excited to be with my friends. And when I came home, my dog was missing, and I had forgotten to shut the door. So my dog had ran out, and a really big lesson that I learned from that was always shut the door and be very careful when you're leaving. You don't have to be in such a rush, and that's something that I do in my life today. So when you read stories, you can learn a moral or a lesson from the stories that you read. So what we're going to do today is we're going to read some stories and we're going to figure out what are the morals of the stories, or the lesson that the story wants to teach us. And sometimes when you read different stories, people see things a little differently. So you might learn something different than your friend in class. So we're going to kind of come up with some ideas that we think are the moral of the stories. Okay? So I'm going to read us a story. And as I'm reading this, I want you to be thinking about what is this author trying to teach me? What's the lesson or what's the moral of the story? Okay, so make sure you're listening and you have your listening ears on and you're ready. Thumbs up. Good. Okay, so the title is, Why Did Mama Change Her Mind? So be thinking, what is the moral of the story? Mama Miller told Faye and Lonnie that they might have a party, so they tried to get ready for it. Mrs. Miller said they could invite 10 children. You write to 5 girls, Faye, she said, and Lonnie will write to 5 boys. Lonnie and Faye sat on the couch. They tried to think who they would like to come to their party. Make out your list first, said Lonnie. Faye did, and her brother agreed to all the girls. As soon as Lonnie started writing his names, Faye began to find fault. I don't like boys, anyway, said Faye. Only you, Lonnie. Let's have all girls at our party. But it won't be my party too, said Lonnie. If you have all girls, I don't care. All of those boys are horrid, Faye said, pointing to his paper. You say that because you don't like boys, he said, and then he told his sister that every boy whose name he had written was just as good as gold. They were just as good as Lonnie Miller himself was, and everybody said he was one of the best boys that ever lived. I won't play with him if he comes, Faye kept saying to every name Lonnie wrote. You can have your party, said Lonnie, getting up out of the easy chair and sitting down in the smaller one. You and your girls. I'm going to play my video game. I don't like boys, Faye kept saying, jumping down off the arm of the chair. But I like video games. Can we have your games at our party? Lucia, their older sister, was passing the door just then, so she thought she would stop and see what all the noise was. I'm calling Mama. Mama came hurrying in. When they told her about the invitation, she said, Your brother has been very good about this party. He was willing to let you have it with just girls, but I said it would be a party for both of you, so it will be a party for none of you. There will be no party, but you said we could have a party for 10 people. I said that you could have a party for 10 children, 5 boys and 5 girls. You took all 10. That is not fair. So there will be no party. When you learn to share, then you will have a party. Okay, so I want you to just think for a moment. What do you think the moral of that story was? What was that story trying to teach you? And just kind of think to yourself, and then we'll share some of our ideas. Okay, so be thinking, what could I learn from this? Okay, if you have an idea, please raise your hand. Okay, so you think being grateful. So, how does this story teach you to be grateful? Okay, so it teaches you to be grateful because the girl in the story, Faye, she only wanted girls, and then she wasn't appreciative of the fact that her mom was giving her a party. And then eventually she didn't get any party, so she wasn't grateful that she was able to even have a party. She just wanted to have a party for only her friends and no boys. Good, very good. Does anybody have another idea of what the moral might be? To be fair. So fairness. Can you explain why you think the moral is fairness? Okay, so it's fairness because Lonnie and Faye should have both been able to have 5 people, but Faye wanted all of them and that wasn't fair. Good, good. So it is fairness. Is there any other ideas for this? So you think you should only invite girls? Well, would that go with fairness? No. So usually the moral of the story is not going to teach you things that are wrong. They're going to teach you things that will make you a better person. So it's not only invite girls. Another idea? Okay. So boys and girls should have different parties. I don't think that's what the author is saying. I think the author wants everyone to be together. Is there any other ideas? Okay. So you said that when you had a birthday party, you wanted to invite only your friends that you knew, and your mom said to invite everyone to your party. Okay, so that's something kind of that you applied to the moral here because you wanted it to be fair for everyone in the class. Good. So is there any other ideas about the moral of this story? No? Can anybody else apply the moral of the story to their life? No? Okay, very good. Any questions so far about what moral means? No questions? Okay, so we are going to read our second story, and I want you to be thinking about what's the moral or the lesson of this story, okay? So the second story is called The New Family. The Robinsons moved into the neighborhood in July. It was very hot. They saw the sign about the block club. Mrs. Robinson said, "That is good. I want to live on a safe block." The next day, Jimmy and Jerome Robinson were playing outside. They were playing baseball. Adam Johnson came to play with them. He said, "I'm glad to have someone to play ball with." He lived across the street. Jimmy hit it hard. It went into the neighbor's yard. He said, "I'll go get it. Wait for me here." "No, don't go there," said Adam. "That's where Mr. James lives. He is the head of the block club. He will be angry. We are not supposed to play baseball on the street. We are supposed to go to the park to play baseball." "But my mother will be angry if I lose our ball," Jimmy said. So he went to the neighbor's yard to get the ball. A tall man came out of the house just as he got to the ball. "Who are you and what are you doing here?" he asked. "I'm Jimmy Robinson, and I came to get my baseball." "I'm sorry, I hid it here. I didn't know the rule." "Okay, you can get it this one time, but remember, we all need to follow the rules on this block. The rules help us have a good place to live, a safe place to live. If you want to play ball, go to the park." Jimmy ran back with the ball. Adam and Jerome were glad to see him. "That's my brave brother," said Jerome. Just then their mother came outside. "Mr. James called me. He says he wants to help us understand the rules of the block." Okay, so now that we read the new family, I want you to think to yourself, what do you think the lesson of this story was? And as you think, I'm going to erase our old moral. Okay, so please think about, what was this story trying to teach you? Does anybody have any ideas of what the moral might be for this story? To follow the rules. I love it. And why do you think it's to follow the rules? Okay, so they didn't follow the rules, and the block leader said that they need to follow the rules. Good. Is there anything else? Any other lessons you might learn from this? So know the rules before you start doing things. You should always want to know the rules. Okay. And why do you think it's know the rules? Okay, so know the rules because if they knew the rules, they wouldn't have gotten in trouble. They would have went to the park. They would have not gotten Mr. James angry with them or their mother angry with them. Good. Any others? Don't go into other people's yards. Okay, so you probably shouldn't do that, but that probably wasn't the exact lesson that they were trying to teach you here, but that is something that you probably shouldn't do. Any other ideas? Go to the baseball field to play. Yeah, that's something you should do instead of playing. If your block doesn't want you to play in the streets, you should definitely do that. Yes. Okay, any other ideas? No? Okay, any questions about the morals that we found here? No. Okay, so do you see how sometimes they can be kind of similar, kind of different? Everyone kind of thinks a little bit differently, but the main thing I want you to be thinking about is, what is the story trying to teach me? Okay, one more story. And this story is called The Big Game. So be thinking about, what is this story trying to teach me? Okay. The Big Game. It was Friday. The football game was Saturday, and we were very excited. My brother was going to be the quarterback for our team. It was the first time he would be in that position. He had been hoping to be quarterback ever since he joined the team. He said, "That's the big job. That's the one that makes the big difference." My mother said, "Be careful, son. that's the big target too. You know the other players want to sack you. You can't get hurt. Don't worry, I'm tough and I'm fast. Plus, I have great players who will block them. That night, I couldn't sleep well. I worried about my brother. My mother was right. He could get hurt. The next morning, he left early to get to the game. When we got there, it was about to start. The team ran out on the field. He looked great. He saw us and waved. Then it started. They were playing hard. One player in particular from the other team kept rushing at him. Then it happened. He knocked my brother down. My brother was slow to get up. My mother was screaming. The coach ran out on the field. He told my brother to take some time on the bench. He was afraid he had been hurt. My mother ran down to check on my brother, but all he did was smile. It's just a bruise. I'm fine. And don't worry. I'll be back. This is great. I love leading the team. My mother was so worried then, but my brother was right. He plays quarterback every Saturday. My mom can't go to the games. She just waits at home and hopes to see him walking in smiling. Okay, so as I erase the old morals, I want you to be thinking, what is the moral of the story? Okay, so now that you had a little bit of time to think, what do you think the moral of this story is? So football is fun. That's kind of an opinion. That's probably not what this is trying to teach you. Any other ideas? Don't worry so much. Yeah, I like it. Why do you think that? Because the mom was really worried and she doesn't go watch her son anymore. So if she wasn't so worried, she wouldn't miss out on her son playing. Good. I'm going to put worry less. Any other ideas about what the moral of the story might be? Football is scary, so that's kind of an opinion. We kind of heard that. Okay. Football is fun. Okay, that's still an opinion. We want to think, what is this trying to teach you? What is the lesson of the story? What do they want you to learn from the story? Don't be overconfident. And why do you think that? Okay, so because the boy was very confident that he wasn't going to get hurt, and he did get hurt. So things can happen. Okay, any other ideas for this story? So enjoy life, don't worry. It's kind of like worrying less. Good. Okay, any questions about what the moral of a story is? No questions? Okay. So I'm just going to kind of recap what we did today. We talked about what a moral of a story is, and we read 3 stories, and I just want you to remember that a moral of a story is something that a book or a story wants to teach you. Okay? So thank you for coming to class today. I hope you learned a lot, and good night.